and welcome back to another episode of Crunch Time. I'm Noah Elgin.
I'm Austin Man. As usual, we have a variety of topics from the amazing Real Sports. So adapt me with that first one.
All right, Austin. Yesterday was the Super Bowl. Pretty big deal here.
Yeah.
It was obviously the Patriots and the Rams. A lot of people are making fun of it, kind of disappointed. This was actually the lowest scoring Super Bowl of NFL history. Final score was was it
13 to
13-3? Yeah,
16 total points. Like literally, I swear, like the Eagles scored that many points in 2 minutes. in the first 2 minutes of the game.
Previously the lowest scoring Super Bowl ever had been Super Bowl 7, in which the Dolphins beat the Redskins 14-7.
Even then, like at least they scored like
that's
both teams scored both teams scored a touchdown.
Right.
Like, the Rams kind of just shat the bed.
Yeah, that's more than you can say about this Super Bowl.
Yeah, honestly, Tom Brady reaffirmed GOAT status, but I honestly, I'm just more happy I don't have to watch that game ever again. Like, I'm gonna watch football. I just don't want to watch that football game again.
Yeah, I feel you. Awesome. For you, what was the biggest issue for both teams in terms of why they struggled to get points on the board?
For the Rams, just their offense just looked completely lost out there. For the Patriots, their offense looked lost in the first half, but then towards the end they got their run game going. It was just because they milked the clock and the Rams defense was tired. They did a really good job on the offensive line of doubling up Aaron Donald, mitigating his impact in the game. But the Rams just really fell apart on the offense, which is surprising when you talk about all-time offenses in the NFL. This current Rams team would be the cream of the crop. So it's kind of surprising to me, but I just think Jared Goff had the jitters. Young quarterback, might make another Super Bowl. Sean McVay, same thing. Young coach, kind of just got schooled by the more experienced veterans, and at the end of the day, I think the better team won.
Yeah, for me, the issue with the Rams offense is a credit to the Patriots defense and the play calling there. If you watch the game, it really felt like Jared Goff was under a lot of pressure all game, and he spent a lot of time in the shotgun because of that. But the Patriots didn't actually rush 5 and 6 guys very often. It was more that they were rushing 4 guys, but they were coming from different spots on the field every time. So it felt like blocks were not getting picked up. It felt like there was more heavier blitz than there was. And the Rams throughout the season were not a shotgun team. They love play action. They love being under center, and that just simply wasn't an option the way that the Patriots were getting through the Rams O-line.
And it surprised me just because you go back to Jared Goff's college days at Cal when he was in the air raid system. He almost exclusively worked out of the shotgun, and it's he kind of just looked lost in the shotgun, which is kind of confusing me just because he knows the system, I guess, from the shotgun position. But at the end of the day, like I said, I think it was more so the Patriots defense causing him duress more than anything of the Rams offensive play calling, just because the Patriots defense exposed the one thing Jared Goff is absolutely awful at, which is scrambling.
Right.
Jared Goff got popped so many times that
Bro,
game.
there was that one play when he felt pressure in the pocket, he rotated out right, and it looked like he was going to throw the ball away or get it downfield or whatever, and he just kind of watched some dude come up and bring him down. That was a weird play for me. It's he had so much time to throw the ball away, and he just didn't. And, that was a loss of 9 yards. It killed that drive.
He's a pure pocket passer, but at the end of the day, Patriots defense, beautiful game plan. Can't really be mad.
Yeah, all right. Well, Julian Edelman won the Super Bowl MVP. It wasn't Tom Brady, as you are probably accustomed to.
Well deserved. 10 catches, 148 yards.
Agreed. Tom Brady had an interception and he had a fumble. He barely got over 200 yards. It wasn't a bad game per se, but it didn't feel like a Super Bowl MVP type of game for Tom Brady.
Yeah, but Edelman, he was in the second half, especially once the Patriots offense started finding his flow. He made a lot of big plays on third down. A lot of big plays. I thought maybe if the Rams got 1 or 2 stops, that last field goal could have maybe not gone in, but
Yeah, I think the difference was when the Rams were driving, they'd take a negative play and they'd struggle to bounce back from it and they'd have to punt. With the Patriots, they say Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh gets through, they get a sack, they get a tackle for a loss, whatever. It always felt like the next play, Tom Brady found Julian Edelman upfield for a first down, and that's how they continued to drive down the field. And for me, that was a huge difference in this game.
It was like exactly like the AFC Championship game where the Patriots were able to convert on 3rd and long consistently more than like not converting.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, it's just the better team won. You can't really be mad, but Julian Edelman is a cheater, right?
Yeah, well, actually, I was gonna get to that in a second, real quick. I was gonna lead up to it with Julian Edelman. Actually, has the second most receiving yards in the playoffs ever with 1,412, and yet he's still over 800 yards short of the legendary Jerry Rice, who in that category has a whopping 2,245 yards. But yeah, to your point, Austin, I was gonna mention, yeah, Julian Edelman won the Super Bowl MVP, but don't forget that he set out the first 4 games of the season after, getting suspended for a PED violation. So, he served his punishment. He did his time. I'm not going to say he shouldn't have won the Super Bowl MVP, but for me, it's a little cloudy. Like, it just didn't quite feel right for me.
Yeah, I feel like if anything, they should have given it to one of their defensive players, or hell, even their punter, just because I feel like that was the part of the game the Patriots shined in the most. Their special teams and their defense was what won them that Super Bowl. Yeah, they made big plays on offense at the end, but the entire game, the defense and special teams was carrying them.
Dude, shout out to the Patriots punter. I was actually, while I was watching this game towards the end, I was telling people I was with, I was like, yeah, they're probably going to give it to Edelman, but man, Ryan Allen, the Patriots punter, he got, if a punter was ever going to get a Super Bowl MVP, this was the Super Bowl for that to happen. 3 times Allen pinned the Rams within their own 10-yard line. I believe all 3 of those drives ended up in a punt for the Rams. He was huge. He was, consistent all game. You can't ask for anything more than that from your punter.
Yeah, honestly, great special teams, throughout the entire game, and that was pretty much the only thing that was great about the game was the special teams. And special teams is important to football, but it's the most boring aspect of the game, not gonna lie. But I definitely think Allen should have gotten that just because he stunted a lot of the Rams drives. They'd make a lot of progress, like you were talking about earlier. You said that just because they got bad field position, really just stopped steaming their drive halfway through just because they looked tired. They just seemed like they couldn't. They just gassed out.
Well, yeah, like you're saying. I mean, if the Rams would be starting, say, on their own 5-yard line or so, they might put together a cool 50 yards. That's not a bad drive in a lot of cases. Most of the time, that'll get you into field goal range. But that wasn't the case this time because they were always starting from inside their 10-yard line.
Yeah, and honestly, most of the Rams' drives are consistently carried by big pass plays, and the Patriots did a really good job of mitigating those just because Jared Goff. Every time he tried to throw it downfield, it seemed like he either overthrew it, underthrew it, or was just completely off.
Yeah, bro. I gotta say, I know he was on the losing team, but Marcus Peters had a great game.
Marcus Peters had a really good game.
There were multiple times where there should have been a catch downfield for the Patriots, and he got a hand up in there. He avoided a penalty. I thought he actually really shined, and it's a shame that the offense couldn't play as well as the defense did.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I guess defenses do win championships.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's how it always will be. All right, well, if you hadn't heard, officially Patrick Mahomes has been named the MVP of the season, which is, I think, well deserved. We have discussed this before.
Hands down, not even a question. I honestly thought he should have been unanimous, but that's just me. I understand Drew Brees had a decent season.
He had a more than decent season.
He had a good season, but it's just in terms of from seasons beginning to seasons end, Mahomes was in the MVP conversation every week.
Yeah, every week. And it's similar to the whole the Heisman debate. This is another case where the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, they didn't have a good offense or a good defense, excuse me. similar to like the Sooners, who had a great offense and terrible defense. The Saints, yeah, maybe they weren't the best defensive team, but they certainly had some names that you recognize on that side of the ball, and it just felt like Patrick Mahomes was carrying his team more than Breeze was.
Yeah, I mean, like, towards the end, you notice, like, you look at Drew Brees' stat lines to, like, the last 4 or 5 games. Like, I know this just because he was my fantasy quarterback and made me suffer, but it's like he was very underwhelming. Like, I think he had almost more interceptions than he did touchdowns, or, like, a very, very, like, close ratio, like a 5-4 touchdown interception ratio, which is not really, like, it screams MVP. That just screams, like, below average.
Yeah. Would you still have made that trade with me at the very beginning of the fantasy football season? Do you remember that?
I don't remember that. What was the trade?
I had drafted Jerick McKinnon. He immediately got injured. And then I think you traded me Dalvin Cook. You gave me Dalvin Cook and I gave you Breeze.
I mean, you got Mahomes off the waiver wire.
Oh, I got Mahomes off the waiver wire. You're looking at a fantasy football champion back-to-back years right here. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I didn't really peep the waiver wires the first few weeks, I'm being honest.
Well, I mean, you probably wouldn't check for a quarterback if you're rocking Drew Brees.
Yeah, I mean, I was, like, pretty certain. Like, I had Matt Ryan, too, as my second one.
Yeah.
So, like, felt like I was pretty set just because I had one former MVP and then, like, one who's always going to be in the MVP conversation. But
Austin here did finish top 3. We'll give him that.
Yeah.
All right.
Gunning for that title. But moving on.
Next year. Speaking of next year, Austin, your Raiders have been in the news today. Apparently, there's talks of the Raiders playing next season at the San Francisco Giants ballpark. What have you heard about that? How do you feel about that?
Obviously, I just hope the Raiders have some place to play. I hope it would be Oakland, but, you can't really... It's kind of like... I don't know. It's not really a power move to say if you're going to play in the same city that's suing you.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like that bridge has been burned.
The bridge has been burned. And it sucks just because it's their last year in Oakland. Like, I really feel like they should have just put all their, like, differences aside and just be like, this one's just for the fans. Like, this should be the season for the fans.
Too much money for that.
And it just sucks just because, Raiders fans, like, I know they're hated nationwide.
But they're loyal.
They are
God damn, are they loyal.
They are so loyal. Like, literally, they will go to jail if you talk shit about their team. Like, literally, they will even fight each other.
Yeah.
That's how loyal Raiders fans are. So it's just kind of, like, I just think it's kind of a slap in the face to just be like, hey, guys, yeah, we're going to play in the Bay Area. We're the Oakland Raiders, but we're going to play in San Francisco.
Yeah, the crazy thing for me is... you wouldn't even have, there's obviously the 49ers, but they're playing in Santa Clara right now,
like,
so...
That's so far from San Francisco.
Yeah,
too.
It's like if the Raiders do end up playing in San Francisco, they're I assume they'd be called the Oakland Raiders still.
Yeah.
I don't know, that dynamic of the San Francisco 49ers not being in San Francisco and the Oakland Raiders not being in Oakland, it just doesn't feel right.
It just feels off. Like, I would much rather have them be playing in the Bay Area than not playing in the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
But, I just wish they could put their differences aside and just be like, hey, like, let's worry about this later. And obviously, I know it's not going to be that easy just because there's a lot of politics involved. But, they're such a storied franchise. And think about, like, how many the Raiders left before they came back. And, like, even then, like, Raiders fans still came back, still helped sell out games, and I just think it's kind of a slap in the face to the fans. And especially as me as a fan, like, I'm upset just because, I'd like to see my team play in Oakland for the last time. And it's just kind of robbing that sense just because, like, maybe that last game, like, on Christmas Eve was the last time you'll ever see the Raiders play on their home field.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly hope not. Maybe they eventually end up in Las Vegas for 5 years, 10 years, and they come back. I'm hoping so, but I gotta say that the timing is rough. John Gruden coming in with the long rebuild ahead of him. I guess it makes sense to move now, but at the same time, for all the loyal Oakland fans who have been there through the rough times and stayed loyal, it's a bummer for them to watch their beloved team move away.
Yeah, I mean, I'm bummed too, and we were promised like at least three more seasons, and we were getting that. I mean, this is the third season of before they're moving, so it's just kind of like, empty promises at the end of the day. And that's just disappointing. Just because it's like they're letting so many things get aside of like what's historically like an important moment, I think, in the city of Oakland, just because they're leaving again, but think about it, it's just like think about how fast that fan base rebuilt from like literally just from ashes, and they're just like, really good. Never even like question it. Like, even though like people were upset that they were moving to Las Vegas, that didn't stop people from still supporting the Raiders. So it's just kind of a slap in the face.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the NBA. Kristaps Porzingis has been traded to the Dallas Mavericks. He and Courtney Lee and Tim Hardaway Jr. were sent there in exchange for Wesley Matthews, DeAndre Jordan, and
Dennis Smith Jr. And then I think they attached like a first round pick.
I believe there was a pick involved.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the Knicks should have at least gotten a first round pick, just because like Dennis Smith Jr. has a lot of potential. I think he has more potential than Frank Ntilikina,
Definitely.
But it's just kind of like I think the Knicks could have done a little more. I think they could have asked for at least 2. Just because like Porzingis was an all-star before, he can show he can average 20 points a game, like nearly a double-double a night, and then you're getting a player who gets half the production as the centerpiece of your package you're getting back. I don't know. I'd just be disappointed a little bit as a Knicks fan.
Yeah, it's a little bit disheartening because Dennis Smith Jr. could have just been drafted by the Knicks initially, but and a lot of people are bashing on the Knicks for this move. Personally, I think this is a win-win for both teams when you look at the long run. The Knicks don't look too hot right now, but Wesley Matthews and DeAndre Jordan are both good players. Dennis Smith Jr. has a lot of potential, and more than anything, they have enough cap space now to sign 2 max deals this offseason.
Especially because Wesley Matthews and DeAndre Jordan are off the books after this season.
Exactly.
And they are probably their 2 highest paid players at the moment, so yeah, really interesting.
So, go ahead.
So obviously, like, if I'm a Knicks fan, I'm really, like, holding the Knicks front office. Like, if they don't sign at least 1 max free agent, I would be mad.
Yeah, that's my question is, like, you got the money. You could, like, logistics-wise, you're going to be able to sign those free agents. However, are you going to be able to, like, are the free agents going to want to sign there?
Yeah, there's, like, a lot of potential on that team, but the thing is, though, like, with the current NBA landscape, is superstars want to play with other superstars to win championships.
And that's my thing. I feel like if they're going to land 2 superstars on max deals, I feel like those 2 superstars are going to have to talk to each other about that first and come to a joint decision to both join the Knicks.
Yeah, but even then, like, say they sign like Kyrie Irving, Jimmy Butler, I don't even think that's enough to get him over the hump. Like, in the Eastern Conference, yeah, but I just think they're kind of like a middle of the pack Western Conference team.
Even in the Eastern Conference, the top of the Eastern Conference is wet.
Yeah, and it's just honestly like even then, with a Jimmy Butler, Kyrie Irving combo leading you, it's still like I don't see any scenario of them finishing better than 4th place.
Okay, what if
or 3rd place maybe? They
own their own pick though for this upcoming draft. Say they draft Zion, they land Kyrie and Jimmy,
and they got Kevin Knox.
Is that a team that potentially can make a run?
I think they can make a run, but the thing is though, there's just not going to be enough help for Kyrie and Jimmy.
Like coming off the bench,
or even just in the starting rotation, just because like when you need the big buckets. It's most likely going to go to one of those 2. Whereas, like, right now, it can be completely different next season. But Golden State, like, they just have a variety of weapons. Like, yeah, you're double-teaming Steph. Oh, Klay Thompson open. Double-team KD's open. You're double-teaming KD. Boogie's just going down the paint. So it's just kind of like, the Knicks would be very one-sided, I think. They would be very good in the backcourt, just like their front court would hold them back severely.
Yeah, and I would worry about perimeter defense. Jimmy's not a bad defender, but
I think Jimmy Butler's borderline elite as a perimeter defender. But Kyrie Irving, like,
as a tandem, I'd still be worried about it.
Just because Kyrie doesn't really play defense. He's just really good at getting steals.
I think if they were able to re-sign Wesley Matthews on a team-friendly deal, that would certainly help in that department. He's a fantastic defender.
And just re-signing DeAndre Jordan too.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Okay, on the other side of the deal for the Mavs, if in case you hadn't figured it out, this means that Kristaps Porzingis will of course be joining Luka Doncic, the two European superstars.
Two white guys.
Yeah, in their early 20s. Luka only 19, I believe. That's a team that, given a year or two, could be dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Kristaps Porzingis, I would just look at Dirk Nowitzki and just be excited, just because you're like, man, I'm going to get treated really well by this organization, just because there's not a more loyal owner in the NBA, I think, than Mark Cuban.
Bro, who doesn't love Mark Cuban?
Mark Cuban, I think, like, if I wasn't, like, a coach, I would, as long as I did, like, a decent job, he would always have my back. Like, Rick Carlisle, like, he's had a lot of bad seasons over the past few years, but, like, no one ever questions his job security just because everyone knows Mark Cuban fucks with him.
Well, and he's proven himself.
They won that title.
Right.
And I just think, like, Mark Cuban, like, really looks out for his players, too. And, like, think about it, like, with Dirk Nowitzki, like, he made it clear that he wanted to stay at the Mavs, and, like, even then, like, Dirk showed a lot of loyalty, but Mark Cuban showed a lot of loyalty, too, by saying, like, hey, man, like, yeah, you're 40 years old, you're probably going to not be able to play more than 15 minutes a game, but, we'll still sign you. We'll still have a spot in your roster.
Yeah, and a lot of people can't say the same. I mean, Tony Parker.
Yeah.
Like Vince Carter.
Vince Carter, like, has floated around this league, and this to say that you played your entire career with one team, 21 seasons. I'd be excited if I was Kristaps Porzingis, just because you're going to get that love not only from the fans, but you're also going to get it from management, your coaches, and teammates. Most likely, just because, he's the guy, essentially. Him and Luka.
Right.
Like, that's a nice pick and roll
combo. There's all the benefits and the positives of just being around that organization. But also, like, I'm telling you, man, give him a couple years. That's going to be a pretty dirty team in the West.
I would say maybe just give him, like, 2 years. 2 years, like, they're easily could be a top 4 team in the West.
Right.
Just because, like, the Warriors will probably be at the tail end of their dynasty 2 years from now. And, the Mavericks seem to just be trending up. I just think they need to build a strong, like, rotation around them. But I think Luka and KP are, like, enough to get them over the hump.
Yeah, I think they need to focus on bringing in defensive-minded players, because Luka and KP, KP can play some good defense, but I think they're both offensive-minded players.
Oh, yeah. KP is just... I think he's a more, like, crafty, skilled Joel Embiid.
Okay, yeah.
Like, Joel Embiid is, like, he's skilled and crafty, but, like, the reason why Joel Embiid is, like, regarded as the top NBA center is just because he plays both ways.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, KP is, like, honestly a very, very good finisher around the rim.
KP has that finesse.
He has that finesse, and Luka has that finesse that only European players have.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun team to watch pretty soon.
Great team.
All right. Lastly, AD, Anthony Davis, is still on the Pelicans. The Lakers have made a couple pretty intriguing offers. The one today that, let's see if I can remember all these names, included Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, Rajon Rondo, Lance Stevenson. Am I missing anyone?
You're missing 2 first-round picks.
2 first-round picks, baby. That got declined, I believe, though, by the Pelicans. I'm really starting to think that AD is going to end up finishing this year on the Pelicans.
I agree, just because, on paper that sounds like a good package, but think about what you're giving. You're giving up a perennial All-NBA player for 3 guys who have a lot of potential but still haven't proven a lot. So it's just kind of like, it's completely justified. Like, obviously the 2 first-round picks, like, are a sweetener, but, you're not going to get a really good pick just because, like, they're going to finish either right outside the lottery or maybe just like a late lottery pick.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I just think the Pelicans were smart. I think they should hold out for a way better deal.
Right. Because, at the end of the day, they don't have to, do what AD wants them to do. If they want to send him to the Celtics for Kyrie Irving, they're going to send him to the Celtics for Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, I was reading, like, he there are two other teams he would sign long term with besides Lakers. It was the Clippers and the Bucks, which Bucks surprised me, but I think the Bucks, that would be a scary team.
Right, Giannis and AD as a front court.
Ooh.
Man, two potential, like, perennial potential MVP candidates. Ooh, that's a, with a team that's already in the number one seed in the East.
Think about, you'd probably have to give up Malcolm Brogdon.
Do you think Chris Middleton would?
Chris Middleton's on an expiring contract, though, so you'd have to re-sign him. But he would definitely be included in that.
Probably, Brook Lopez would probably be gone.
Brook Lopez. And a lot of draft capital. The thing is, though, it's just the Bucks, I don't see them offering, like, a very good package just because the way their team is built, it's just, like, players who complement Giannis.
Exactly. Yeah. They have a winning formula figured out right now. We'll see if it translates to the postseason or not. But as great of a player as AD is, it's certainly a risk to append the system and the rotation that you have now.
Especially when you're the best team in the NBA right now.
Right. Exactly.
It just doesn't seem like it's a good thing to shake things up that drastically.
Mm-hmm. Have you did you hear about LeVar Ball making the news again?
Yeah.
Saying he didn't want Lonzo Ball to get traded to the Pelicans. He has absolutely no say in the matter.
LeVar, deal with it. It's NBA's a business. You're in an NBA player, they're gonna play for teams that they probably don't want to play for. But at the end of the day, just be happy your son's still employed by an NBA team.
Right. Hell, LiAngelo's probably not going to see any NBA time.
LiAngelo's not even going to see G League.
That's all I gotta
say. That's all.
Take.
That's the truth.
All right. Let's leave it there for now. We'll see you next week. We'll have a bunch of fresh topics for you, but that's all for now. Thanks for tuning in to Crunch Time. I'm Noah Elkin.
I'm Awesome Man. See y'all later.